Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
What's up, nerds? Welcome to another episode of the Multiverse Report. Tonight we are recapping the week's nerdy news from the North Pole to Bedford Falls to Whoville to the sea of swirly twirly gumdrops to the island of misfit toys to the future grave of Ebenezer Scrooge and everywhere in between. That's right. Happy holidays from us here at the Multiverse Report. My name is Mike Gibson. With me is always Steve Haller. What's up, Steve?
It's a holiday episode with actually us not talking about anything holiday related, but it's the last one before the big day, I think, right?
I believe so, because a week from tonight is Christmas Eve, correct? Or is it actual Christmas?
Christmas Eve, I believe.
Yeah, so I don't think we're going to be recording on Christmas Eve, and I doubt we're going to be recording on Christmas Day.
I think my mom would shoot me if I tried to record on Christmas Eve. That's her, of the two, that's her big one, so.
Yeah, so I'm sure we'll do an episode. We're going to do an episode before New Year's, though.
Yeah.
We have to. Because we have to do an episode that talks about all of our favorite stuff from the past year and looks forward to what's happening next year. And we're planning on doing that. We just don't know when. Maybe the 26th, maybe on Boxing Day, maybe a Boxing Day episode.
Ooh.
We will find out.
And when we find out, you will find out.
Yeah, when we find out, you'll find out, and we'll let you know. If you're watching live on YouTube, sorry, we're getting a bit of a late start. As I mentioned on an Instagram live video, Steve just getting back from the North Pole with his family.
Indeed.
So, it's a long journey. Got that Santa Claus magic. That train moves pretty fast.
It does.
Down in like an hour.
I was going to say.
It goes all the way to the North Pole.
Yeah, you're an hour there and back, and problem solved.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, in the in the greater Syracuse area, there is a actual train that does the whole Polar Express thing, and I just took my family on that, and made it back in time to record for all of your ear holes.
Yes. Although it is a bit of a later start for us, and we do both have to wake up tomorrow morning and do, normal day things, normal Monday things. We are going to try not to tangent quite as much during this episode, but we have said that before countless times. So, cut to us wrapping this up at 12:30 tonight. We'll see how long we go. We're talking about a good amount of DC stuff tonight. Mostly, there's nothing big, I gotta say, but there's a good amount of DC stuff kind of swirling around, and some Marvel animation stuff, comic reviews, a couple one-shots tonight. This podcast is sponsored by Funky Town Comics in Camillus, New York, as it is always. Coming up, Funky Town, something coming up in 2024. Funky Town is sponsoring Collectors Con in Syracuse, New York. First the inaugural Collectors Con. Hopefully this is something that becomes a yearly thing. Steve and I will both be there. We will have a booth for the podcast. We'll also have a booth for me, or I'll have a booth for me as a comic writer. Oof.
You know how many times I did that at Saratoga Comic-Con?
Yeah.
I was like, this is comic artist Mike Gibson who wrote the comic. I'm like, wait, that doesn't make sense.
Didn't draw it.
Damn it.
Yeah. No. Somebody else did that. Someone else way better than me. She's great. Right there. So Collectors Con, March 16th and 17th. You should check that out. You should also check out our recent interview with comic author Simon Birks up on your feed right now. Scroll back a couple weeks. Good talk to him. And more of that coming up in 2024. Another thing to look forward to in 2024. But speaking of things looking forward to, but not in 2024, things you don't have to wait that long for. That's a better segue. Things you don't have to wait until 2024 to see, but something we've been waiting a long time for, the sequel to a little movie called Aquaman. The sequel is called Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, and it comes out this Friday, December 22nd. And I'm sure this movie's going to have a lot going on inside of it, but on the outside, this movie marks the end of the DC Extended Universe, the DCEU, starting all the way back 2013 with Man of Steel. Gave us such bangers as The Suicide Squad, Birds of Prey, Wonder Woman, and such flops as
the rest
Black
of
Adam, The Flash. There's a lot of middling ones, I'd say.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. There's
it
a
really, if you look at the whole thing, it really runs the gamut of like near perfect films to
straight hot
total,
garbage. Yeah.
total hot garbage. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive.
Though lately you can almost say that about the Marvel slate too. So I feel like the lows aren't as low and the highs are close.
The first,
the highs are probably higher.
You know,
but
the first I got to turn my light on. I forgot. You know, the first comparison I thought of was Star Wars, actually.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because that's also similar, but I feel like for me, Star Wars is either great or bad, and there's not a ton of like in the middle Star Wars. Whereas there's a lot of in the middle DC extended universe stuff for me. Anyway.
Yeah. No, I got you there.
Yeah. But Steve, I gotta say, I didn't link to anything, but I saw a new TV spot and I saw like a foreign trailer for this movie this week.
Okay.
This movie, it looks awesome. I gotta say, this movie looks dope.
Avatar looked really cool too.
I know, man, but we've also seen Aquaman, the first one.
Yeah.
We know what that one was. We know that that's not a perfect movie, but we know it looks great and the action is super cool and it's super fun. It's not like a masterpiece by any means.
It's not Scorsese. It's
yeah, but it's a very fun movie.
Right.
And to me, these trailers, this movie just looks like it takes everything that the first one was and kind of like pushes it further. So I feel like my expectations are pretty well set as to what to expect from Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I don't expect it to be, a cinematic masterpiece. The visuals look great. The action looks incredible. Just the cool designs and stuff. Like, it's the same crew that made the first one. So, like,
right.
I feel like my opinion on Aquaman and Lost Kingdom is going to be similar to my opinion on Aquaman, which is like, this is a fun movie that I will revisit this movie because of how cool it looks and how fun it is. And I'll skip over the dialogue parts into the next, I'll fast forward through those or whatever. So I don't know. To me, it looks pretty cool. We'll see when it comes out. I don't think I'm going to be able to see it, the day or two before Christmas, but probably sometime in the week between. Maybe by the next time when we do our New Year's episode, I will have seen it possibly. Who knows? We'll see. But anyway, Jason Momoa, obviously out doing promotion for this movie,
right,
asked about the end of the DCEU and whether or not he will be continuing on as Aquaman in any way after this movie. And he said, quote, "I don't necessarily want it to end, but I don't think it's really like a choice." Love Jason Momoa. That's great. The truth of it is, I mean, if the audience loves it, then there's a possibility. But right now, I'm like, it's not looking too good. Even in the next 10 years or so, like, there's a lot of cool things they can do. And I enjoy the role and the world. So, I mean, it just comes down to if people love it. And this is kind of like we've heard this before, Zachary Levi saying this about Shazam 2. Even though the writing is on the wall, we know that James Gunn and Peter Safran are taking over, and they're going to do a pretty hard reboot for the DCU. But at the same time, I do believe this in that if Aquaman 2 makes another $1 billion, then I can see them being like, okay, sure, fine, he can be Lobo, but he's also going to be Aquaman in Aquaman 3. We're making another one because these movies keep making billions of dollars. I don't think Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is going to make $1 billion. I think it's going to do better than we're expecting it to do, because there's not a whole lot else happening in theaters right now. And I think people are going to want to go to the movies, and I think people are going to go see Aquaman. So We'll see. Could be wrong. He was then asked about whether or not he's going to continue in the new DCU from James Gunn and Peter Safran. And he said, "If there's a place in their world for me, I would love to be a part of it. This is my home. Warner and DC is definitely my home. That's all I'll say. I was a big Lobo fan growing up. I read every comic, so that would be really cool." The way I didn't read like the origin of this interview. This was just like being reported on another site. So I don't know if he was specifically asked about Lobo. The way I read it, it seemed like he just brought up Lobo. I feel like this is just the absolute worst kept secret in Hollywood, that he's going to be the character of Lobo.
Oh, it has been talked about for a long time at this point, I think.
Many times. So yeah, that's Aquaman. Steve, You plan on seeing Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom in the theater?
Maybe. I don't know. It's definitely one of those where I'm like, yeah, that'd be. If I'm going to see it, I would probably want to see it in a theater just for the visuals.
Yeah, I think the visuals warrant a theatrical experience.
I
I'll let you
don't-
know when I'm going.
Well,
If
we
you can
don't
come
we
with
don't
me,
know
then-
currently what the status of our movie theater is, but
Oh, yeah, it's true. There was a big fire.
yeah. So yeah,
Um,
but if
yeah.
if it is physically capable of us seeing said movie, then
Yeah.
maybe.
Maybe
Why
we'll
not?
take a swing at it. Why not? Speaking of the DCEU, oh, sorry, I was jumping ahead of story. Speaking of the DCU, apparently, at one point, James Gunn talked to his friend and former collaborator Matt Reeves. You might remember
I've
that
heard of
name
him.
from being the guy who wrote and directed a little movie called The Batman. That rules super hard. Matt Reeves. They've announced that the Batman and the spin-off show The Penguin and the Batman Part 2 are all going to be in a separate Elseworlds universe. It's not going to be part of the Gunn and Safran mainline DCU. Which, when they announced it, I was like, "That's kind of smart." I think you can. I like this world a lot. I don't have to worry about Superman showing up and that stuff. Just give me a Batverse, and then James Gunn can do wild, crazy stuff on the DCU. But apparently, James Gunn initially wanted the Batman to be part of his DCU and offered that to Matt Reeves, and they left it up to Matt Reeves. So Robert Pattinson's Batman could have been the Batman in the DCU. However, Matt Reeves wanted to keep it separately, and James Gunn respected that decision. So they're going to be separate things, which leads to us getting a second Batman in Brave and the Bold whenever that comes around to being a thing, which I think is cool. And Steve, I know James. We've talked about how James Gunn has said a couple times about how he enjoys. He thinks that different superhero movies should feel differently. They should speak to the character versus just speaking to the connectivity of the overall universe. Kind of like a dig at Marvel, how all their movies kind of feel the same now. But he's talked about how like Swamp Thing is going to be like a hard R horror movie. Superman Legacy is not going to be a hard R horror movie. It's going to be a lighter thing. And he's talked about how he enjoys
hold on.
Sorry.
So I want Superman Legacy to be a hard R horror movie.
Okay, then you should go and watch Zack Snyder's Justice League again, and you can get that flavor. Get that flavor from that. James Gunn has talked about how he thinks the challenge that he enjoys the challenge of figuring out ways to have those characters interact and have them make sense together, but have them feel very different, which I like a lot. I'm very excited to see him do that. I feel like that was the excitement of the original Avengers movie back when MCU movies did feel different. Captain America: First Avenger feels very different from Thor, feels very, very different from Iron Man, in my opinion.
Yeah, the original, like all the phase 1 and 2 stuff was relatively until we got post Avengers, it wasn't nearly as cookie cutter. It wasn't nearly as homogenous, and even more so now.
Oh yeah.
Like it's
now
just
it's like
gotten more and more. Yeah, exactly.
It's assembly line.
Right. Freaking Model
but-
T. We're straight up Model T at this point.
Right. All that being said, do you think Robert Pattinson's Batman could have worked in a bigger DCU with characters like Superman? Can you picture Robert Pattinson's Batman interacting with like a Green Lantern?
Huh. See, now this is kind of, it's almost that same situation. And of course, I immediately go to X-Men. Like, in my brain, does it make more sense to not bring the X-Men into the MCU and just have them in a separate multiverse? Because if there's all these other powered beings around, where's the stakes for, the mutants being the hated ones? Like, if people accept Reed Richards expanding his arm across the state, why does Nightcrawler, who is blue and bounces all over the place, why is he the one persecuted? Similarly, on the DC side, if you have Batman and all this street level stuff, and then he goes from that immediately to hanging out with Superman and like going on cosmic adventures and stuff. And you're like, this doesn't feel right. The feel of the Batman seems to fit more in its own universe and almost feels like it needs to be there more than it would if it was part of the DCU. I'm sure there's a way they could write it in, but if you're going off what was made already and trying to, like, knowing James Gunn, it doesn't fit the flavor that I'm expecting at least some of the DCU to have. So yes and no.
I agree. I think it could have worked. However, I prefer this decision because I don't believe Matt Reeves wrote the Batman with a larger DC universe in mind. I think James Gunn having his own Batman and knowing that this is a Batman that needs to be able to go toe-to-toe with Superman and Wonder Woman and also possibly hop in a Justice League jet and fly to Apocalypse to fight Darkseid, someday. I think knowing that about that character informs that character and informs how you write, even if the Brave and the Bold is just a Batman and Robin street level movie. Having that knowledge about that character informs the way you write that character and the way you make that movie. So the fact that Robert Pattinson's Batman was not conceived as that, I think would feel a little forced if they had suddenly, thrown him into a larger universe.
Right.
I could be wrong. They could have had a way to do it and it would have felt great. But in my heart, it seems like this is the right decision. I believe.
Yeah. No, definitely I'm with you there.
So, we also learned from James Gunn, I believe today, on Threads, the social media platform Threads. He's doing a lot of responding today to people's questions.
Oh, is he having one of those days?
Yeah. Well, he had to debunk a couple rumors. There were Hollywood Reporter, which is a reputable site, posted that his friend Pom Clementif was going to be in Superman Legacy. And he was like, no, this is not true at all. He was like, I've been trying to debunk less stuff lately, but, she's my friend, and this is just emphatically not true. So I'm coming out to say it. And there's one other actress he had to do something similar with this week, and then he just started answering questions, I guess, at the same time. And through those questions, one of the things we learned, Steve, you might remember that Matt Reeves was initially he's developed the Penguin, a spin-off from the Batman that takes place within the Batman universe. And he was originally going to be doing a Gotham City or GCPD series, which ended up turning into an Arkham Asylum series, which was originally going to be a spin-off of the Batman as well. Apparently now, James Gunn is saying that the Arkham Asylum series is going to be a part of the DCU and not a part of Matt Reeves' Batman verse or Batverse. So this is
weird.
It is weird. It's definitely a twist. And this is how he said it. Someone asked him if there were other Batman spin-offs, because he responded to someone that he said he heard a pitch for the Batman 2, Part 2. He hasn't read a script. The script isn't done yet, but he knows what the story is and that it's cool.
Nice.
And someone said, are there going to be other spin-offs from Matt Reeves' Batman verse? And he said, right now, Matt is producing Arkham as a DCU series, so there's just the two for now, meaning the Batman Part 2 and the Penguin. So someone responded to that saying, wait, so the Arkham series is in the DCU? And James Gunn said, yes, we love Matt as a director and producer, so he'll be producing stories both within the Batman universe and within the DCU. And then someone said, was it always planned this way? And he said, yes, it was one of the first pitches we bought when Peter and I came on board. I don't know the permutations it went through before that time. So I'm thinking that, we already know that it changed from a GCPD series to a Arkham Asylum series. So there's always a lot of changes going on. Maybe during those changes, it became clear that this may not fit into our world as much as we think it was going to. So then James Gunn and Peter Safran came on board and they say, hey, you know what? Let's see if they want to do anything with this. Right. That's my guess. So maybe James Gunn wasn't familiar with the version of it that was supposed to take place in the Batman universe, and only his first introduction to it was as, hey, what if you guys want to do this? So that's one more series that we know is going to be part of the DCU. We know that James Gunn has only announced about half of the slate for phase 1 or chapter 1 of the DCU. But now this is going to be part of that, maybe as well. Obviously, there's no release dates or anything like that, but I think that's cool because then if we know, I like the idea that we're getting the Robert Pattinson Batman. We know is early on. He's like he was Batman for like 2 years in that movie,
Right.
and we see Riddler. He's meeting the Riddler for the first time. He's meeting Catwoman for the first time, and we know that he has Joker's already in Arkham Asylum, so he's already tangled with Joker. But we're still getting a very new Batman, so we're going to see like a lot of these villains' origin stories probably in the Batman Part 2 and maybe even the Penguin and things like that. But I like the idea of having Brave and the Bold, which we already know, I guess, is going to be not Dick Grayson as Robin. It's going to be future Robin. So Brave and the Bold is going to have a Batman that's already lived in this world for a while. So maybe all of his rogues gallery is already established, and we can just jump right to Bane or Scarecrow or whoever else.
Right.
I like that it's another way to keep the two separate, I guess I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
Yeah. Also, speaking of the Batman Part 2, Barry Keoghan was asked. He's out promoting a movie called Saltburn. That's what. Which I've heard very incredibly mixed things about. Masterpiece and terrible dog shit. So who knows?
Those are always
anyway. Of course, he's out doing promotion for this movie. He was asked if he's going to reprise the role of the Joker in the Batman Part 2, and he said, in his adorable Irish accent, said, "I can't really say anything about that, my man, but it would be exciting, wouldn't it, to see the Joker come to life again?" And then he kind of looks away and starts laughing, and really, you can tell he's like trying to say something. He wants to say more, and he can't. He said, "My smile says it all." You know what I mean? Which to me is like, yes, he's going to be in Batman Part 2. I'd be shocked if he wasn't after the tease of him in the first one. But I'm very excited to see more of him as Joker because what we got was very menacing and interesting.
It seemed like a unique take on the Joker. One that wasn't the standard route that we've seen in all of these iterations. Like even
certainly his look. He definitely looked. I mean, they didn't really even show his face, which was even cooler. But what we saw of it looked wildly different from Jack Nicholson or Heath Ledger or anybody.
Right. And even, I don't know, it's weird to try and put a finger on, but there were through lines from, Nicholson to Ledger to Leto to whoever.
Yeah.
With
Phoenix,
certain ways they've portrayed the Joker. And this really did just feel, I don't know, not like a different character. Like it still felt like the Joker, but there was something. He definitely added a little, and this is an extremely limited screenshot that we saw.
Yeah.
It felt good.
But I also think that's in line with the way Robert Pattinson was Batman in that movie, and the way that character was. It's a testament to the way that both characters were written and conceived, but also the way that they were acted. Mm-hmm. Both those characters have been portrayed so many times,
right?
Whether it's in live action or animation or comics, and you're still finding new ways to give them to us is so impressive and incredible. I think it really speaks to how malleable the characters really are, and a lot of comic book characters are similar. Spider-Man, is one too. You can keep kind of reinventing. And there's people that are like, oh, Tom Holland doesn't really feel like Spider-Man to me. I'm like, yeah, okay, but there's a version of Spider-Man. There he is.
Well, and that's always weird because it's like, especially the Tom Holland doesn't feel like Spider-Man. Like,
yeah, I know he feels exactly like Spider-Man.
He feels perfectly like Peter Parker. Yeah. Unless you're strictly you've never read anything but Miles and you say Tom Holland doesn't feel like Spider-Man. Sure,
right,
okay, I gotcha. Like he does not feel like Miles Morales. He feels like Peter Parker.
Peter Parker.
But yeah, I mean, so that's another similar character where over the years we've seen iterations of Spider-Man that all feel very homogenous. Like, yes, Holland has his quirks and feels different than the other two, but there's still the through lines. Whereas you pull up, Amazing Spider-Man versus pull up some Silver Age stuff versus now versus whenever. There's different iterations of Peter and how he's portrayed, and we're about to hit the Ultimates, and whatever we're going to see in Ultimate Spider-Man #1 is going to be a wildly different Peter than we've seen.
Yes, and should be.
Yeah,
it should be. Otherwise, they're just rehashing. Like, I don't think I don't think Christian Bale signed on to be Bruce Wayne thinking like, how can I copy Michael Keaton's version of this character? Like that wasn't like Michael Keaton played him as like an insane person, I think, but like quietly insane person.
Right.
Whereas Christian Bale is like very rooted in reality. And then we got Robert. I mean, I'm skipping over people here and there, but then there's Robert Pattinson, which is more such a noir detective-y take that just feels different from anybody else that's ever done it. So like, there's it's like I feel like it's picking an unexplored aspect of the character and diving into that. So it's still
which is
rooted
where
within
the best comic book runs come from too.
Yeah, exactly.
So it totally makes sense that the preferred movie runs or movie portrayals would come from that too.
Yeah, exactly. Last little bit of DC news / James Gunn social media stuff. A ton of DC movies are now streaming on a streaming service called TUBI, TUBI.
Sure.
TUBI is it's pretty great, Steve. TUBI is a free streaming service. It's supported with ads, so there's like commercials and stuff. But
so we're back to normal television.
Hey, yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know. Works for me.
Yeah.
When I'm in a pinch, if I'm like, this is the only place that this movie is streaming, I'll sit through a couple.
When your other option is watching Christmas Vacation repeatedly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Lots of DCEU stuff has just been added to that series, and there's a bunch of older DC movies that are already on there. Because Warner Brothers is now kind of abandoning the Disney model, which they originally started out with HBO Max, now called Max, with like taking everything and putting it under their umbrella. So if you want to watch any Batman thing, you have to subscribe to HBO Max. That's like what Disney does. It's like Star Wars, nowhere else except Disney Plus. Marvel movies, Disney Plus, nowhere else. And you could argue that that's a good idea to force people to buy your streaming service. You could also argue that like not everybody can afford every streaming service, so maybe you should license these things out if you want people to have a wider availability to your content, to your characters and stuff. Yeah. So this is the route that DC is taking. But some people who are so used to the Disney idea, angry about this, don't understand why this is a good business move for Warner Brothers. So I think James Gunn posted something about how these movies were on Tubi now, and a fan angrily responded to him, like claiming that this was like diluting the DC brand and called it a cause of a lack of cohesion within the DC universe, which doesn't really make sense at all. But anyway, Gunn responded to this fan and said, he kind of addressed that like this is just what this is what studios have done since the beginning of studios and networks. Like this is just what happens. You license out your stuff to be shown other places so other people can access it, like we were just talking about. But he said, James Gunn said, not sure where the anger is coming from, but DC projects being spread across different platforms so that more people have access to the stories is not the same as having any cohesion in the DCU timeline, which we very much do. Starts with Creature Commandos. Merry Little Batman on Amazon is a fun animated kids movie that was already being made when we came aboard. But Elseworlds animated projects like that will keep happening. I'm not sure how that's confusing. So he makes a couple good points, like, yeah, Tubi is free. Someone that can't afford to pay the $20 a month or whatever it is for Max now, but they still want to watch Birds of Prey or they want to watch The Batman, then they can watch it for free with commercials on Tubi. And that makes them excited about those characters. So when those characters come back in a new movie, they want to go see that movie. Like, that's smart. That's a smart business decision.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense. And also, I don't think anybody. I did watch Merry Little Batman this weekend with my son. It is great. It's really good. It's not a special. It's a movie. It's an hour and a half long. It's a full Christmas Batman movie about Damian trying to prove himself as the next Batman. It's really cute. It's really funny. Like, I laughed out loud plenty of times. It was great. I don't think anyone starts watching Merry Little Batman and is saying, "Wait, why isn't Robert Pattinson in this?" You know, like, nobody.
Right. Yeah.
And like, and even like when you went to see the Robert Pattinson Batman movie, was anybody confused that it wasn't Ben Affleck? I don't think so. I think people understand that there can be different versions of this thing, and I think that's what James Gunn is getting at. And I'm all for it. I'm all for the Elseworlds model. You know,
Yeah.
I've been reading comics my whole life, so I can figure it out. I can catch up. Moving into some Marvel stuff now, Steve. I didn't have this in the rundown, but real quick, you need to answer this truthfully on air. Okay, you need to be honest with me right now. You need to be honest with me.
Okay,
you ready? Did you hack into Insomniac Games to try to steal information about the Wolverine game and are holding it hostage? Did you do that? Because somebody did that. And we were just talking last week about how much we wanted to know about the Wolverine game, Steve. Was it you?
No comment.
Oh, no comment.
No, it was not me, Michael. It was not me.
I know it wasn't you.
Alas.
But I thought it was like the day after we recorded. It was like Monday.
It was great.
How, like, you can go back and listen to last week's episode. We're both very excited about that Wolverine game.
Yeah.
Very excited about it.
Apparently someone's a lot more excited than we are.
Way more. In no universe would I hack into Insomniac Games, steal valuable information, and then hold it for ransom until they release information about the Wolverine game. Insane.
It's not
Whoever's doing that, stop doing that. That's a stupid thing to do.
Just be patient. Bad idea. Don't do this.
You're being stupid. Don't do that. Don't do that. It's a game. It's a game. Marvel. I got some animation news from Marvel. Marvel has announced a animated Black Panther spinoff series for Disney Plus called Eyes of Wakanda. There's no other information about it other than it will premiere in 2024. I think that kind of sounds cool, I guess. I'm not really, I would like some more information about it. I did remember, though, that in 2021, it was announced that Black Panther director and writer Ryan Coogler was developing a Wakanda-focused series for Disney+. Do we think this is that series? Or do we think this is something else entirely? It's animation, so they clearly had started working on it before now. I don't know why they just waited this long to announce it, because there's other things they've been working on that we've known about for a year at least. So why keep this under wraps? I don't know. Steve, what are your thoughts on an animated Black Panther spinoff series?
I think animated and like the spectacle of the two Black Panther movies has been amazing. Like being able to put visuals to Wakanda and the whole everything that was going on with Wakanda Forever for the various faults of the movie itself. Like, they were able to visually do some great things. And I think animation, because they've shown Wakanda to be such a diverse country area wise, like going from the cliffs like up in the mountains with the gorilla tribe down to like the shores and in the plains and all that. Like, they've shown all these drastically different ecosystems within Wakanda. It's almost like animation would be the perfect medium to throw something like this out and not have to spend a boatload of money on CG every time you're making one of these, making a story with Black Panther or anybody or in Wakanda. So I think it's a very, like, to have Coogler tied in, and if this is the Coogler series, to have Coogler tied in and storytelling within that medium where it's almost no holds barred for him,
Yeah,
I'm
you're right.
very excited about that because
True.
like yes, effectively he wasn't constrained because of what they were able to do with those movies and the budget they had. But
Yeah.
if he can literally say, "Oh, you know what? I have this crazy thing going on in my head. Let's draw this," even better.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure.
I'm definitely excited with what they can do within the medium.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I will. I'll anxiously await more information.
Yeah.
About this series.
Well, it's you know what? I started to rewatch Clone Wars with my son.
Mhm.
His first time, but me
Yeah.
rewatching for the umpteenth time.
Mhm.
But it's kind of that same concept that happened with Star Wars, where you have all these tales that you can tell in a animated medium that there's no chance in hell you could tell live action,
Right.
or very
Yeah.
limited
Or you
chance
could,
you
it would
could
just
tell in
be
live action.
very expensive. Yeah.
Right. Whereas we get 7 seasons of the Clone Wars that fleshed out the time between episodes 2 and 3 more than literally any other era of the saga.
Yeah.
And if they could, take that and for literally everything to do with Wakanda and anything adjacent to it, that would be awesome to be able to fill in all those gaps and to be able to, see why the tribes were at odds, or like why the gorilla tribe didn't in the first season like show a precursor as to why they're the exiles and didn't want to agree with everybody else, and tell all these stories.
Yeah, you can get history, you can get like founding of it, you can get other Black Panthers in the past, you could get smaller street level stories about just like citizens of Wakanda at the same time. Like there's
Jabari. Sorry, that's been bugging me since I kept saying it. I'm like,
I could tell when you said gorilla tribe, you're like,
there's a name for this, and I need to
It
know
was-
it.
Yeah.
Like I know this. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if it's coming out next year, we won't have to wait too much longer, I wouldn't think, for some more information.
Yeah, at least a trailer or something, even stills.
Yeah, or some like a synopsis
in
like
animation
something.
style. Anything.
Yeah, a still, anything. Yeah. Speaking of animation for Marvel, we won't have to wait too much longer for What If Season 2 is coming out this Friday, same day as Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. This Friday, December 22nd. They just released the episode titles for this season. The episode titles are as follows. What if Nebula joined the Nova Corps? What if Peter Quill attacked Earth's mightiest heroes? What if Happy Hogan saved Christmas? What if Iron Man crashed into the Grand Master? What if Captain Carter fought the Hydra Stomper? What if Kahori reshaped the world? What if Hela found the 10 rings? What if Strange Supreme intervened? All those episodes, I guess it doesn't, it's not binge. It's like a weekly thing, right? They're not dropping all at once. First episode comes out Friday, December 22nd. Third season is in development. Steve, I was going to ask you, but I'm just going to say it. I don't care about any of these questions. Like, none of these questions make me want to watch this series. How do you feel?
The only one that jumped at me is the let's pull this up and say it right.
What if?
What
It's
if?
What if?
How
Steve.
did?
The series is called
I want
What
to
If.
see how did. How did? Question mark. The series.
DC should do a how did.
It'd be great.
Yeah.
No, the what if Kahori, or I believe it's pronounced Kahorti, reshaped the world. So Kahorti is a close to home here in Syracuse, a young Mohawk woman who discovered the Tesseract. So Haudenosaunee woman who discovered the Tesseract and is I guess a new novel character in the Marvel universe. So
Okay. That does sound interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's the only one that jumped at me. The rest of them I couldn't really, like, I made it through 5 episodes of the first season.
I know. Yeah, I was gonna say you didn't even finish the first one.
Nope.
So
Nope.
I did, but I didn't care so much about it that I'm excited for. Like, I put these on the list because I wanted to talk about them to see if I was missing anything, but none of these really seem they don't really jump out at me as like, oh, I can't imagine what if Peter Quill attacked Earth's mightiest heroes. Like, I don't know, he would get slaughtered
Right.
by the Hulk. Like, what? I don't know. None of them seem inherently interesting to me. I could be wrong. Maybe I'll give it a shot, but I don't know if I'll be watching What If season 2. No offense to all the brilliant animators that worked on that show.
Oh, it's always looked. Every episode I saw looked great.
Yeah, it looks great.
Didn't.
Yeah, and there's some fun stuff in there, I guess, but I don't know. It seems like I'm just realizing this right now. Maybe it's because we're in a current place with the live action current MCU timeline that we don't really know what's going on or what the drive is or what the focus is. It all seems kind of just like wheel spinning, not really moving towards anything.
Everything seems like What If.
Exactly. If we're in this like nebulous kind of pattern with the actual main timeline of the MCU, I don't care about What If stories.
Right.
I want to I don't even know what's going on in the real reality. So I don't know. Speaking of different realities, we talked a while ago about an announcement of another animated Marvel thing called Spider-Man Freshman Year. This was announced a few years ago, I think in the same Comic-Con that they announced the X-Men 97 revival, I believe.
Yes, it was.
And this is a Disney Plus animated series. It's not going to be called Spider-Man Freshman Year anymore. They announced it's got a title change. Will now be called Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. No reason was given for this change at all. This series was originally announced as more or less an origin story for Tom Holland's Spider-Man within the MCU. And that made me very excited because when we meet him in Captain America Civil War, he's already been somewhat Spider-Man. He's got a rattier costume or whatever, but he's been Spider-Man for a little bit of time. We don't see him get bit by the spider. We don't see his Uncle Ben dying. We don't see any of that stuff. But I was like, ooh, great. I'd love to see all that. Then they pulled that rug out from underneath us, and they got switched to being taking place in an alternate timeline within the MCU. So not really within the MCU, I guess, multiverse stuff. Technically, it's the MCU, but I don't know. It's like the What If stuff. I don't really care about the What If stuff. I care about what's happening in reality. So anyway, but this is an alternate timeline in the MCU where Norman Osborn is Peter Parker's mentor instead of Tony Stark. Steve, I gotta say, I don't know that I care about this cartoon at all anymore. Nope. It's not as interesting to me.
It went back. They took a novel story and a novel idea because, like you said, Holland's Peter Parker, we don't have any details on.
Yeah.
We meet him, and he's already doing his thing.
Right.
We don't even... does he ever mention an Uncle Ben at any point?
I think they reference
maybe
in passing, but they don't. I don't know that he ever says Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
In dialogue, I think in the second one, in Far From Home, he's packing a suitcase that has the initials BP on it, Ben Parker.
Okay.
And the way he talks to Tony in Civil War says if I have these powers and bad things happen, if I don't do anything, then it's my fault. And that kind of tells me oh, he's been through that already.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know that he actually ever says Uncle Ben. I think somebody does in No Way Home, right? Doesn't Tobey Maguire say my Uncle Ben or something?
Yeah, in No Way Home. Yeah. I mean, because we know Toby and Andrew had Uncle Ben.
They sure did. Yeah.
Uncle's Ben.
Uncle's Ben, yeah.
Yes, the Uncle's Ben.
Yeah. So I know this to me is they took a concept that is directly tied to a character that I care about and took it and put it in this What If timeline that I don't care about at all.
Well, and now it's okay. Peter's working for Osborn, and that's his mentor, and we've seen this 8,000 times.
Right.
Cool. Great. We have a Spider-Man story. As opposed to something like my Spider-Man knowledge is not paramount, but Tony being the guy for him seemed like a very fresh take on it and something new
for sure.
that we hadn't really, or at least I hadn't seen explored.
Same.
So this would have been kind of cool.
Yeah. I feel like in the MCU, has trained so many people's brains, and I feel this about the MCU. It hasn't bled into other franchises for me, but I know it has for a lot of people where like if it's not connected, it doesn't matter. Like the MCU has hammered this like continuity, this need for continuity into a lot of people's brains. But I don't necessarily need that. Like, yeah, give me a Batman movie that isn't connected to something else, or give me whatever, the Harley Quinn series that isn't connected to anything else. Like, I like that stuff. Like, I like a fresh, because then you're able to do a fresh take. But because MCU was so like, nope, everything is connected or it doesn't matter. Now they're giving us this and like the What If series, like, okay, well, you already told me that doesn't matter. So I don't care about it inherently. I don't know. Maybe I'm just, I don't know. Maybe I'm a hater. Maybe this will come out and it'll be great. I don't know.
Get off my lawn.
At the same time, I do like a good Spider-Man story. So, and this is this could be a good
name too. Like, you went from again something novel, Spider-Man freshman year, to Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which
a title we've heard a million times.
Like, really? Could we make it more generic?
Yeah.
Like everyone's literally telling Marvel to take these things and make them less generic because they all sound the same. And now it's like, oh, you know what we're going to do to mix things up? Let's name our Spider-Man story the same goddamn thing it's always named.
Yeah.
Like, how many comic book runs have been your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man? I know of at least 2 or 3.
I know. At the same time, if this is just a good Spider-Man story that isn't connected to anything, then that's good. That's something that I like. Like, that's what I'm preaching right now. You know what I mean? So I can't say that I'm not going to give it a chance, but I can say that inherently I'm not as interested in it because of what the MCU has conditioned me to think about the MCU. But sure, I'll take a Spider-Man story. If it's good, then great. I'll love it. I'll give it a shot.
There
So
you
we'll
go.
see. Do you have a comic to review?
I did.
I do as well. Can I go first because we're talking about spiders?
Go for it.
All right. I have Spider-Gwen Smash #1. Donated to me by Jesse at Monkeytown Comics. It was written by Melissa Flores. Penciler was Ini Balam. Cifuentes Sujo is the colorist. And Elisabetta D'Amico is the inker. VC's Clayton Cowes is the letterer. Clayton is all over the place. So this is #1 of a new Spider-Gwen series. And it's good. It's really good. Focuses on her she lives in a separate universe, not the mainline Marvel universe, and not even the universe with Miles Morales in it. She lives in a different reality where she's in a band, as they hint to in the Spider-Verse films. Kind of classic Spider-Woman stuff, Ghost Spider stuff. She's trying to balance her daily life with the Ghost Spider. There were some things I didn't understand necessarily. Like, for being a #1, I thought I was ready to be like, oh, a great jumping on point. Mostly is a great jumping on point. However, they reference events of other series in ways that I don't know what they're talking about. So it clearly is a continuation from something. Maybe there was a Spider-Gwen series recently that I wasn't aware of that is continuing from that, or maybe spinning out of Spider-Verse books or something. I don't know. They definitely a few times reference things that I have no idea about. And there's a weird thing where, like, she changes into Spider-Gwen, or she changes into Ghost Spider. It's so confusing. Like, the book's called Spider-Gwen. In the movies, she's Spider-Woman, which makes a lot of sense. But in the books, she's Ghost Spider. So there's like 3 different names for this one character all at the same time. I always am confused as to what I should be calling her.
What is
like
she
a fight
in
breaks.
Spidey and his Amazing Friends?
I don't know. I don't remember. Yeah. So there's like a scene where like a villain starts attacking while the band is performing at a show, and she changes into Ghost Spider like right there, like right on stage in front of everybody. and everyone hates Ghost Spider, but then they like her. Like, I don't. Does she have a secret identity? Like, just things that I'm like confused about that weren't really like fleshed out for me too much.
Changing into a secret identity while
Right in
performing
front
music.
of my face. Anyway, despite that, I thought this was a good book. I liked it a lot. She ends up partnering with a character that may become incredibly important and popular in the Marvel Universe, depending on the events of Deadpool 3, Dazzler. The mutant Dazzler is a big part of this book. Their bands go on a tour together, which is cool. But it turns out that Dazzler and her tour manager, who ends up being one Natasha Romanoff in this universe, they have different motives other than just performing and being in a cool band. But so I won't ruin that. But it's cool seeing Dazzler again and Dazzler being treated well, I think, because she is a cool character. The art is great. I dug the art quite a bit. Lots of cool colors.
Yeah.
Very exciting kind of stuff. So I would say that if you like this character, Spider-Gwen, Spider-Woman, Ghost Spider, however you refer to her, if you like this character from the Spider-Verse movies or from comics, I would say that this is a good issue to pick up for sure, especially if there's any Swifties out there that want to read more books with Dazzler in them to prepare yourself for possibly her being your new favorite superhero after. Can you imagine if Taylor Swift is really playing Dazzler in Deadpool 3? What are the odds that they give her her own movie?
Probably pretty high if she doesn't.
Pretty
stop.
high, right?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking that right now. Like, she's a busy woman. Obviously, she's got a lot to do, but they're like, yo, we want to give you a trilogy.
But do you turn down Marvel Bank? No.
I don't think you do.
No.
I think you make a Dazzler movie.
Even when you can print your own money, you might as well. So 2 things so far. Dazzler, if you are really interested in Dazzler, feel free to go down to our good friends at Funky Town Comics and Vinyl. They just got an awesome collection in
insane.
Awesome X-Men collection. It was the full 63 to 250. I know there was a pretty solid X-Men 130 in there, which was the first appearance of Dazzler. And then every
Swifties,
other
go get it.
every other
Go
X-Men
get it, Swifties.
book you need. Thankfully in that stretch, the ones that I wanted I mostly have, so I was like, okay, I can hold off. I don't have to run down there and see what's going on. But yeah, the other would be the other thing that the one thing I didn't like from what you were showing is I have a weird pet peeve where the A cover of a book, if the A cover of a book is dramatically different art-wise than the actual interior art, I don't know why that bugs me, but it always does. Like,
I agree.
A cover should be like, this is what I'm getting.
Series. Yep. A cover should be the series artist.
Yeah.
That's my opinion as well. Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be the exact same, or it can be stylized or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, that looked dramatically different on the cover compared to what was inside that book. So
yeah, it is for sure.
Yeah.
It is for sure. Real quick, Steve, before you do your comic, and I hope this isn't a huge tangent because I know we're pushing time. We wanted to go, but we're talking about Deadpool 3. We're talking about Dazzler. Talking about the X-Men in general. I, for a long time, thought that similar to how I feel about Superman Legacy being not released until 2025. We have 2024, very light DC slate. We're getting Creature Commandos, maybe nothing else. But from everything that they've had going on, I've said a couple times, the lack of DC stuff until Superman Legacy, a huge blessing for them. Huge time for them to reset, let people forget about, Justice League or Batman versus Superman, Flash, whatever. Like, forget about all that. And you can move something new. I used to think that about the X-Men as well. We got a long break between Dark Phoenix, a terrible movie, and whatever new incarnation of the X-Men we're going to get. All reports are telling us that we're going to see a lot of X-Men in Deadpool 3. Is Deadpool 3 going to ruin the anticipation or take some of the steam out of the fans' anticipation of seeing a new X-Men movie because we will have seen X-Men characters recently. Does that make sense? Do you know what I'm saying?
It does. And I think the answer to that is maybe.
Yeah.
So Dark Phoenix, you mentioned, the oft maligned for extremely good reason movie. Also the only live action appearance of Dazzler otherwise.
True. True.
That gap between that and now, we did also have Deadpool 2 that had a bunch of X-Force cameos in it and all that, but I guess
Yeah, but it didn't
that's
have
different.
Wolverine in it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It didn't
Oh,
have
100%.
Cyclops, it didn't have Wolverine or Storm or
it
Jean
did
or any
have
of that stuff.
it did
Oh, yeah.
in a
just real
classroom
quick.
for about
yes.
3 to 4 seconds.
Yeah, real quick.
But yeah, I feel like if they can pull off the Deadpool kills the Fox universe, it won't.
Yeah.
Because it's all the faces we had seen and that we know they're not going to be there moving forward.
Yeah.
If we start seeing like new castings pop up and like, you know, if we see the Days of Future Past, then I think it may. I think it may.
I think it's possible. Yeah.
And for me, my hype will not die, but in general, it may cut into the, you know, the over the top, like.
I mean, it's still gonna. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
It's still gonna be 2 years minimum before we
Right.
get another X-Men. Like, we haven't had any announcements at all about an X-Men movie, so we still have time, but we won't have as much time. So I was just curious about that, and I'm sorry to derail. Let's talk about your comic.
Oh, my comic is a comic that I've been extremely interested in for years, and I've never gotten a chance to read.
Wow.
It would be Stan Sakai's Usagi Yojimbo.
Whoa, cool.
So ever since the crossover between Usagi Yojimbo and the Turtles, I was aware that this comic existed. This is Space Usagi, Death and Honor. It's a mini arc of Usagi Yojimbo, the, you know, titular character.
Titular rabbit.
In space. So the whole universe is effectively anthropomorphized animals. In this case, his clan is rabbits, or rabbit-like characters. There's some. This story and the art is awesome. Stan Sakai does the art as well.
Nice.
And
cool.
it's like, if you want samurais in your Star Wars that are also rabbits, this story is amazing.
Wow,
and I did not know I wanted samurais in my Star Wars that were also rabbits. But I did, apparently, because this is a darn good book.
Star Wars does have a lot of samurai influence in its lore.
Yeah, and also has a rabbit in its comic lore.
That's true.
With,
What's the name of that rabbit character?
Jackson, I believe.
Jackson.
Yep, with an X.
Amazing.
But yeah, in this, Usagi is tasked. He thwarts a plot against his clan. Is tasked with training the heir to the clan, and escapades ensue.
All right.
And then it leaves you at a standard 1 of 3 cliffhanger. So, overall, very. I did not know I needed what I read, but very
awesome.
solid. I probably will grab the other 2 just to complete the mini, just to see where it goes. But
yeah, why not?
I would. It pushed the character up the list of things that would make me want to read. And the character has been around since, I believe, around like 1990.
Yeah, a long time.
Like Sakai, 90. At least the early 90s. Yeah, he won an Eisner in 96 for it.
Right.
Inkpot in 91. So
yep.
Yeah, it's he's been around for a while. He's been around doing this book for a while, and this character. So,
Cool.
yeah, overall great. I've now become a fan of a anthropomorphized
Amazing.
rabbit.
That's awesome. Isn't that
So,
great?
Yeah. Oh, it's one
Character
of
that's
those.
been around forever. You've
Yeah.
never really experienced it or read it, and you're like, oh, this is great. Now I have like look like if you really dive into this, you literally have decades of back material that you can read. You know?
Yeah, there are. Let's see. There's at least 9 omnibus and a Legends omnibus with Space Usagi, Yukai, and Senso, and plus a bunch of other graphic novels. So yeah, if I ever wanted to dive down the Usagi Yojimbo rabbit hole, there are options.
A literal rabbit hole.
Wow,
And it's a
bravo.
pretty deep one.
Yes.
I think. I was introduced to Usagi Yojimbo as a Ninja Turtles crossover character. I thought for a long time, Usagi Yojimbo was a Ninja Turtles character.
Yeah, same.
Like I thought he was a side character from Ninja Turtles.
Yep, 100%.
I did not know that he existed outside of that at all.
Oh, God. Sorry. This threw me off so much. Completely random fact about the character. Did you know that back in the day, a project for the for an animated television series, Space Usagi, based on similar to what I've just read, was canceled following the failure of, if you remember, Bucky O'Hare.
I know that name. I can't.
It was such a bad cartoon, and I watched it a lot back in the early '90s. It was a green,
like a Buck. Supposed to be like a Buck Rogers kind of.
With a green rabbit. Yep.
Wow.
Oh yeah. The first mate was a cat.
Wow.
Jenny. Oh yeah. Dead-Eye Duck was a gunner. He was the.
Oh, I remember Dead-Eye Duck.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
wow.
That was
wild.
It was one of those that I read that and I was like, wow, that's a twinge from the past.
Yeah, you can feel your brain like twisting, like, oh, I got that. Here you go,
go
buddy.
through the Rolodex, find it, find it. Oh, we got there.
It's in there. Wow, cool. All right. What else is going to be in your local comic book store this week? Let's take a look. You got Alien #2, Amazing Spider-Man #40, Animal Pound #1, Batman Off-World #2, Jason Aaron's story in the DC universe. Batman Santa Claus Silent Night #3. If you're looking for more holiday flavored books, that one will be out this week. That's 3 of 4 miniseries wrapping up, I guess, the week after Christmas. Anyway, Batman Superman World's Finest #22, Canary #2, Daredevil Black Armor #2, The Deviant #2, another Christmas related story, although much more terrifying.
Very different.
Very different. Doctor Strange #10, G.I. Joe, A Real American 302, Green Lantern War Journal #4, Harley Quinn, Black, White, and Redder #6, Hawk Girl #6, Incredible Hulk #7, Jay Garrick the Flash #3, Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong #3, Nightwing #109, Original X-Men #1. Not sure what that is, but why not? Spawn #348, Spider-Boy #2, Star Trek #15, Star Wars Darth Vader #41, Star Wars Revelations #1, Superior Spider-Man #2, Superman #9, Undiscovered Country #27, Wolverine #40, and Wonder Woman #4. Steve, you have highlighted Original X-Men #1 on our rundown. Pulling that one?
I don't know. That seems like a weird book. So
I don't know what it is at all. Is it about the original 5?
Yes. So there. All right. Rewind to All New X-Men. Standard timey-wimey bullshit. The original 5 get transported to the future.
Yeah. That happened years ago, right?
Yes.
You're thinking about that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. All New X-Men was the run that it was in, I think. Yeah, somebody will correct me. But during that run, they interact with the modern day X-Men, blah, 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 go back. This is apparently those same 5 that got transported forward and sent back, being transported by the Phoenix Force to a multiverse. So to a different
Of course.
timeline, whatever.
It's gotta be a
In my
multiverse.
brain, I'm like, okay, great. No, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'll end up like filling in the gaps on Wikipedia or something.
Yep. That's kind of how I feel too.
Yep.
Like I was really out on that Batman Off-World until I read this one. Jesse gave me the first one to review for the show a couple weeks ago, and I was like, "Oh, this is really good. It feels fresh. It feels like Batman, despite it being a crazy alien story."
Mhm.
But, so there's ways to do it, but initially, a description like that is like, meh, okay, I don't care. I'm not sure if I'm pulling any of these this week. I don't think I have anything on my pull. I'm gonna get the Batman Santa Claus #3.
Hulk's
get
the
off.
only thing in my brain that says it's on my list.
I'll probably get the Deviant #2 because the first one was so good, and maybe Batman Off-World #2. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure I'll end up with
Mm.
Wolverine because that's probably the last of the Fall of X Wolverines.
Yeah. I decided not to pick up the Wonder Woman. I mean, I read the first Wonder Woman, the Tom King,
Yep.
Daniel Sampere Wonder Woman, and I thought it was so good, and I decided not to pick up the rest of it. Just wait for like a trade.
Mm.
But everything I've seen of it since just looks so good. It makes me want to go back and buy the floppies, and I'm like, no, you're trying to pare down. You don't need that many. You can wait for the collected edition. Anyway, we got a couple one shots to wrap up the night, which we need to do soon. Steve,
We
do you want to
do.
take the first one? I assigned you the first one since it seemed like it was right up your alley.
By right up your alley, you mean I completely forgot this was happening. The Wheel of Time movie has found a director. Today I remembered that the Wheel of Time had a movie.
Yeah, same.
I also learned that that director will be Kerry Skoglund, who was the director of Falcon and the Winter some episodes of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, some Walking Dead, and some Handmaid's Tale. They will helm a film called The Age of Legends, which will be the first in a trilogy set long before the events of the current Wheel of Time series. God, I hope so, because everything I've heard is that they're butchering this. I have not watched season 2 yet. There were a lot of issues with season 1.
Yeah.
I will probably go in. I liked season 1 a lot more than most people seem to. I think, again, we've been over this with the comic book thing, where I feel like you and I are much more...
We're more open to
like an interpretation. It doesn't have to be wrote what was written. You have a 1,200-page book. There's going to be some things that get changed.
I just really don't get, like, you want a word for word, shot for shot remake of a thing that you already read? Like, you can go read that thing.
Well,
like,
but
if you're making it a different medium, I want it to be a little different.
Those
I don't
people
know,
that complain about it, though, are people that have read that book like 5 times in and out, know it left and right, and the whole nine, and like they just want to see what's in their head show up on screen.
Yeah, I guess. I'm not built that way. I don't know. I'm just not built that way. Does this excite you? That there's a director that has worked on things that we like?
It moved the needle slightly.
Slightly in that you just remember that it was happening in the first place.
100%.
Right, nice.
I was trying to be nice, but yes, 100%.
Yeah. All right.
It was more, it brought it back into the realm of, hey, this is the thing. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, speaking of people joining projects, terrible segue, but not a false one. Captain America Brave New World has gotten a new writer before it starts its massive reshoots. Matthew Orton, who was a writer on Moon Knight, he was in the writing room and also scripted, I believe, the 5th penultimate episode of Moon Knight. Will be scripting, quote, additional scenes and material, end quote, for Captain America 4. We reported a while ago that, or it was reported a while ago that Captain America 4 has been pushed. I mean, a lot of the Marvel stuff has been pushed. Deadpool 3, only live action Marvel movie that we're getting next year.
Yeah.
That's wild. After years of 2 to 3 movies per year, 2 to sometimes 4 movies in 1 year, we're getting one Marvel movie next year.
Now, wild. I don't remember if I said this to you. I was talking to somebody. That has me actually as weird as it sounds, that has me mildly worried
Oh,
because the Sony slate is like 4 movies. And
Craven, Madam Web, Venom 3.
Venom 3 and
Is that supposed to come out next year?
it's supposed to.
Woo!
Something else.
Wild.
I can't remember. But either way, those 3, if you add the thing is, the average movie-going human doesn't understand or doesn't
The
care that those pieces of hot garbage are different than the slightly less hot garbage that will be Deadpool 3.
3 movies you haven't seen at all, declaring that they're hot garbage completely.
Yes, I am.
Love it.
I've seen a trailer for 2 of them, and they scared me the hell away.
Which do you think looks better? Do you think looks better?
Oh, Jesus.
Craven or Madam Web? Which do you think looks better? I have a hard answer. Madam Web all day looks better than Craven. All day I'll take Madam Web.
I'm going to pivot off that answer because I don't know if I can answer. I don't know if I can answer which one looks better. I can say I would much rather watch Madam Web because there's a chance there's something remotely interesting.
Yeah. Madam Web looks interesting to me.
Right.
It looks bad, but it looks interesting. Craven looks terrible.
Yes.
Straight across terrible. Nothing interesting about Craven.
Now, when I said Deadpool 3 will also be garbage, it'll be garbage in the best possible way. Like,
I think Deadpool 3 is going to be good.
I think it's going to be a very good movie. I think I will enjoy the hell out of it. I think it's going to be very Deadpool-y, which is just like, we're going to throw shit at a screen and see what sticks.
I mean, it could end up being bad.
Yeah, it
but
could.
Like, I'm riding so high on the strength of Deadpool 1 and 2.
Yeah.
That even the fact that they're bringing in all these cameos and who knows how it's going to play out and what the balance is going to be, and is it going to be too much and it's going to jump the shark? Who knows? Deadpool.
But Deadpool
so
always
I'm
jumps
giving
the
it a
shark.
break.
That's what Deadpool does.
Exactly.
But yeah,
But there's still a way for them to add a little too much MCU. You know what I mean? And
so where my point on this whole thing was, is Sony unintentionally going to completely torpedo the MCU because people are going to, who are already fed up with superhero movies, see these 3 Marvel, because Marvel's going to be the first thing that shows up on the screen.
Marvel adjacent, yeah.
They'll see these 3 Marvel movies, and be like, "What is this? Why? Yeah. What are we doing?"
Or similar to what I just said about Superman Legacy, the fact that we're getting one MCU movie, will that give us, like, people like you and me who are like sick of it?
Yeah.
Will it give us enough of a break to when in 2025 we're like, oh, hell yeah, I'll go see Thunderbolts. This looks good. I haven't seen one of these in a while.
So,
you know,
Thunderbolts, I don't think will ever see the light of day.
Wow.
But
that's just the first one I thought of.
I think this is going to be the weird thing. I think people like you and I that are in the like zeitgeist are going to be extremely excited that there's only one MCU movie and we're getting a break and it's slowing down. I think the general movie-going populace that made Venom 2 a billion-dollar movie are not going to understand that, and they're just going to see the other Marvel movies and then wonder why they're horrible, and then almost lose any good faith that was being saved up by the MCU by not putting movies out because it all happens to be in the same year.
Yeah.
So that's there's nothing that says this is what's going to happen, but that's one thing that popped into my head as a worry of like, oh boy, what's going on here?
Yeah, you're not wrong. Anyway, Captain America: Brave New World, Captain America 4, going under massive reshoots. Matthew Orton writing them. Matthew Orton was not one of the original writers of the film's initial script, which a little worrisome for me, I guess. Like, couldn't you get someone that wrote the actual movie so you know what like the tone is like? I don't know. I feel like,
or was a writer on a MCU project that wasn't relatively panned. I liked Moonlight Night more than most, but a lot of people thought that was not a good show. I
thought it was good. I didn't think it was great.
Right.
I thought it was all right. I thought they lost the ending of it for sure. But
It was, you know what? It was the standard
Oscar Isaac
MCU
was
thing.
great in it.
Exactly. It was the standard MCU thing where you're like, Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke were great.
Yeah.
And the end did things.
Yeah, for sure. I'm someone that was very excited about Captain America 4 for a long time. And this news that it's like, and like every movie has reshoots. Every movie has reshoots. Or every blockbuster movie undergoes reshoots. But the fact that these are like being reported as being like massive reshoots to the point where you need a new writer to like rewrite things, this kind of sounds like what happened to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which started off strong and they had to like rewrite half of it and they still rushed it and got it out and it didn't really make a ton of sense. I wasn't really sure what goal of the villain was. It just like muddied it. You know what I mean? It muddied it up. So I'm hoping that this isn't the case, but for me, I'm definitely less excited about Captain America Brave New World than I was a month ago or 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I don't know. We'll see what happens someday when this movie comes out. Or we won't, because it'll be canceled. I don't know. No, it's not going to be canceled. They're putting too much money into it. And it's Captain America. It's Captain America. We need it. The world needs Captain America.
It's true.
What you think, Steve?
I think that's a rant for a different day, my friend.
Yeah, I don't know what I mean by that at all. But I think that's it. That's all I got.
I think you're right. I also don't think I know what you mean. But
yeah.
But yeah.
Should we wrap this up?
I think we
tell
should.
People to subscribe and like us on YouTube and subscribe to us on their podcast feed.
I think that's exactly what we should do.
Yeah.
Do what Mike said.
If you're listening to us, subscribe to us on the thing you're listening to us on. If you're watching us, like and subscribe on that YouTube thing. And then where can they get a hold of us, Steve, if they need us?
The Multiverse Report at gmail.com.
Yep. That's for sure.
Or the Multiverse Report on any of your social needs.
Yep. That's for sure. Multiversereport.com.
You could probably check us out there. I think that's got the links to all the other stuff we talked about too.
Sure does.
Perfect.
All that stuff. So yeah, if you're watching us, you should listen to us sometime. If you're listening to us, you should watch us. We're live most Sunday nights, usually around 9:30, unless one of us has to go to North Pole and back, and then it's closer to 10:30.
Fair enough.
That's all, and I'm tired. I'm going to go to bed. So until next time, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the multiverse.